In this video, I want to start controlling the layout of our product pages with HTML. And that's really one of the ways we're going to solve the consistency problem. There are two ways to do that with HTML elements for layouts, and we're going to talk in this video about tables. And you can see the tag there for it, table tag. The beauty of tables is they divide everything into columns and rows, which immediately gives us consistency, right? As long as we use the same table every time. In fact, you can see right here, there's a kind of a table structure already for us. Here's column number 1, and here's column number 2. And I can just keep all my text and information in this second column and keep the image over here. So you can see a table forming for us already. One of the problems, though, is that in the WYSIWYG editor for WordPress, the visual editor as it's known, there is nothing to help us build tables. I mean, we can just go into the HTML side of things and just start building tables too, but again, there's nothing here to help us with that if we don't know HTML. Fortunately, there's a few ways around this. One is there are plugins for WordPress that will actually allow you to easily create tables in varying formats. Some are more WYSIWYG than others, but there's many choices, as you can see here. There's just literally almost hundreds of them that will actually create tables for you. There's also online tools like this one where we can just add a column, add a row. We can even add classes for those columns and rows, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then you hit Generate HTML, and there it is. You can copy and paste your HTML, start working with it. So even if you don't know HTML very well at all, there are ways to help you. Now, I've gone and created a sample table, so let's take a look at that. Okay, this is one that I've built already, and we're going to plug this into WordPress. So the beauty here is that if you create this structure once, get it working the way you want it, you just have to keep copying it over and over again. So that'll help again with the consistency. Now notice a couple of things I've done here. One is, remember that image was over on the left and everything else was on the right. Okay, so we've got our two columns. But the image is going to go past all the other rows that I've created. Let me explain a little more here. This is a row right here, this TR. So I have this row here, and then I've got another row and another row. In other words, I'm separating bits of information row by row by row. But the image, I want it to be on the left all the time, even while all these rows are going by on the right. So what I have to do is I have to add this to say, go past or follow all 6 rows beside you on the right. Just cover all of them with one single cell. That's what I'm doing with row span here. Now, I don't want to get too technical about how tables work, but this just gives you an example, and you'll see it at work very shortly. The very important thing I've done, though, more important than that even, is this addition of the attribute class here. In this case, I've called this class features. Then I've called this one material, model, price, and so on. That's very important because if you don't identify these now, you're not going to be able to use your style sheet to style all of them. You could technically put in what's called inline styling right here. You could specify, I want it to be this font size and this color and all of that. The problem is that's not flexible at all. If 6 months down the road you change your mind and you don't want material, say, to be italicized, you would have to go around to every single product and change that inline style. We don't want to do that. We want to use a style sheet to do it. And you do that by naming everything. In this case, by a class. We're calling it class material, class model, and so forth. Okay, let's grab our table here. So we're going to copy it. And we'll go back over here into WordPress. Now we have to be in HTML mode in order to do this, so we switch over. And I'm just going to paste this in above everything else. There we go. Notice I've left Insert Image here to make it really easy to remember, and Insert PayPal button here. I'm going to get rid of this because I want to show you how to put the image in. We don't even need this text actually, do we? Let's get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to update And now, when I go to visual mode, there's your table structure. In fact, you can see in this style sheet, it's actually added a line after every cell in the table. You see this gray line. That's why it's there. We didn't put that in. That's the style sheet at work. And there's my insert image here. So in fact, let me go and do that. Makes it really easy. I just hit insert. I've already got my image in my gallery here, so I'm just going to go and insert it. Now, I don't want any alignment here. I don't need alignment. The table's going to do it for me, right? I do want the medium size one, and I don't need a link in this particular case, and I insert it into the post. There we go. Now I'm going to hit update, and I go back to my website and I refresh. Now, there you see we've kept the image over on the left, and look at, there's all of our cells down below here. Insert PayPal button. In fact, let's go and do that. I'm going to grab a PayPal button that I've already taken from my PayPal account. There's our button right there. I'm just going to grab this. And we go back. Remember, we need to be in HTML mode. So I go down here. There's my insert PayPal button here. Nice and easy to know where to put it. Notice I've got to be between these two tags. You've got to be sure not to erase the brackets on those tags, by the way. So I insert this. There we go. Now, one thing to keep in mind, from PayPal, it makes each of these form input, input, input. It makes them separate lines. If you leave this in WordPress, it's going to insert line breaks for you. And these are hidden elements. Input type hidden, input hidden. They'll be hidden, but you'll have line breaks and you'll have this big spacing. So what you have to do is make sure there's no separate line. And I'm just taking out all our line breaks here. And that's going to prevent us from having extra spaces. Okay, so I hit update. And when I refresh over here, we're going to see our button. There's our add to cart button. That works just fine. Now, there is a problem with this particular theme. There's an element in the CSS that's affecting this. I'm going to go and put in some styling right now. It's going to get rid of this gap, and it's going to make all of these work for us nicely. I'll show you in a sec. Let me go do that. Okay, so now that I have uploaded some CSS, and I didn't go into the details of how we did that, and I'll show you a bit later. Notice now we've got some styling to it. And that's because we named each of those cells, right? That's how we were able to get this kind of styling. So that works really, really well. This, by the way, is a problem just within this theme. We would have to get rid of it with CSS separately. I'll just show you real fast. We go in here and we go to this, and then we go over to here. And if I go like this, if I take this particular one out, I'd have to do that for this particular theme. But there you go. So now we've used a table in order to give us the ability to separate out elements here, style them differently, and have it look a little more like a shopping cart.